What up, YouTube? This is Insane Monster, and we are doing part 2 of What If Asta was the Avatar. Now, when we left off, Asta just finished his baptism, got his robe, but unbeknownst to him was a silver-haired girl looking over from the higher parts of the Black Bull hideout. Asta gets his new room, though he finds it a little hard to sleep since he's feeling vibrations coming all across the building and sensing that the building's shifting around. He's able to do this due to the seismic sense that he's learned. When he wakes up, he's a little groggy, telling Magna, why is this place shifting the rooms and hallways around? Magna reacts saying, wait, how did you know that? Did Finro tell you? He replies with, no, I can sense, no, I guess you can say trained to sense vibrations more easily. Every time the building shifted, I felt it. Magna just stares at him, saying, okay, and just gives him the tour. It goes pretty similar and all that, though the beasts don't really mess with Asta. It's just like a kind of aura around him that tells them that he isn't a threat, but he's also not to be messed with. This continues to where he meets Noel, like in canon. Similar thing goes on in canon when Noel attacks, and before he goes to waterbend, the thing just curves and hits him. It's Magna, and Magna's like, "Did you just curve that at me?" Arthur replied with, no, I didn't. I didn't even get to." Noel's confused about what they're talking about, but just forgets it and says that she's quitting the Black Bulls, leaving her robe. We go to where Asta is doing the chores. He's using his water bending to wash the floors and stuff, do the laundry by putting using it to make a sphere of swirling water, using air bending to dry the clothes and the floors, using opening the windows of the library, and using air bending to blow the dust out. As for the other chores, they don't really take up much time. Then Asta just starts walking around until he hears some noises, where he finds Noelle training. Same thing happens in canon, where Noelle freaks out when she sees that Asta saw her and loses control of her magic. He got blown away a bit, where he was flying towards the Black Bulls, but he used air bending to make a safe landing, saying, "Ugh, geez, that was close." Yami looked at him and said, "Hey, can you do something about this? Since you seem to be able to use all those different elements, all the sorts of different elements." Asta looks at it and says, "I could try." But the moment he tries to bend Noelle's out of control water magic, it reacts in a very violent way, lashing out at Asta. But he was able to dodge it. Yami yelled, "What just happened?" And Asta explained, "This thing is like a rampaging animal. When I tried to bend it, it just attacked me." Gonna have to go with plan B then. He opens up his grimoire to take out his Demon Slayer sword, uses earth bending to shoot himself up in the air, and then air bending to give him an added boost to be above the water sphere. With a single slash, he disperses Noelle's magic. He quickly puts the sword back into the grimoire and from and grabs Noelle. he uses his water bending to create a water spiral from Noel's magic. There wasn't enough, though, for him to grab, so he had to rip some water out of the nearby plants, mostly just trees and bushes. And with the water spire he made around his waist, he gently went down to the ground with Noelle, placing her down. Noelle was getting ready to be bombarded with the same treatment her family gave her when she's surprised to hear Asta admiring her for having so much magic, even though he doesn't have any, which confuses Noelle because she responds with, "Wait, how did you do that? How did you do all of that?" He just says, "Well, my grimoire only has the ability to, it's anti magic. What I did before is bending. I just take elements that already exist around me, or I use the elements of my opponent's attacks against them. Though I can't do anything like creation magic or anything, or even creation magic or anything like that." But she's shocked, and the Black Bulls come up and say the same thing as in canon, saying that she does belong here and that they can help her learn how to control her magic. She's happy, and this we speed up to where uh, Asta is feeding the beast with Noelle just standing there, and the beasts are actually being well behaved, which Noelle saying, "I came by here one time and they just wouldn't stop growling and barking and all that at me. Why are they like that with you?" He just looks at her and says, uh, "I'm naturally friendly with animals, whether they be magical or not so magical ones, I guess." And they just see Magna and Yami walk in the natural and then tell them about their mission to go boar hunting at Saussy Village. Asta decided to actually do some Magic Knight stuff now that he's finally made it, and he go grabs his glider. When he comes out with it, Magna already introduced Crazy Cyclone to Noelle after she says she can't fly, and Magna looks at Asta with his glider that's in just a stick form now, saying, "What is that?" Asta replies, "This is how I'm going to fly there." Noelle reacts with, "Wait, you don't have magic. How are you able to fly?" Asta replies with, "Well, remember, I bend the elements. I just use what's around and manipulate it. I use air bending to make wind to blow into the glider so that I can fly. So, and well, it's easier if I just show you." He pops the glider open and jumps up and begins to fly, telling them, "See, nothing to it." Magna is okay with this because now he doesn't have to carry two people on Crazy Cyclone. So they get going. They get there a good bit earlier than before, actually. And as for the boars and how they hunted them, Asta took off his shoes, and Noelle said, "What are you doing?" Asta replied with, "I have a kind of ability that links up with earthbending. It's called seismic sense. Basically, when I use my bare feet like this on the ground, I can sense all the vibration and movements of everything in a large area around me. Though, if it's not touching the ground, I won't be able to see it with my seismic sense. And if I am on sand, the seismic sense tends to act more like blurry vision. But with solid ground like this, the seismic sense gives me a clear visual, as if I'm seeing them with my own eyes. She's not too sure about that, but Magna replies with, "So what? You can find the boars with that?" Asta just said, "I've actually already found them." They just said, "Huh?" And Asta just goes right towards them. For he thinks this is a good way to practice a bit more with his combination of anti-magic sword with bending. He more or less uses his earth bending to shoot up a pillar underneath the boars and using air bending to do an air slash. For an example, Aang was able to use an air slash with his glider, a non-bladed weapon, to cut a giant vulture thing that could carve uh, tunnels in solid rock for its colony. He cut it in half from a pretty big distance away. So it does finish off the boars. They pile them up, and Asa replies with, "Alright, there's one more, but hey, Magna, is there anybody in the village, or did the village hire somebody else to take care of the boars?" Magna looks at him and says, "No, if they had the money to hire somebody to take care of the boars, then they would, then the chief wouldn't have beat me and Captain Yami so bad at poker, and and have us do it as his reward." Uh, Noel says, "That's true." And Magna continues with, "And if the villagers could handle these beasts on their own, then they wouldn't have asked us to help in the first place." Asta thinks, well, yeah, that's fair. But then he flinches. He just sensed that the boar was frozen and shattered. He says, "Guys, I think we got some enemies." They said, "Wait, what?" Asa said, Whoever those four people, those four guys are, they just killed the boar. Like, it felt like it just completely stopped any and all movement of its body, both limbs and internal. And it just disappeared. Magna said, "That kind of sounds like ice magic." Asa quickly makes a platform underneath him, Magna, and the well. Magna and the well fall down, and as Asa yells, "Hang on," and uses his earth bending to move the platform straight towards the Saussy village, burrowing and weaving right through the trees, going straight for him. Asta said, "We got to hurry," with Magna saying, "What's going on?" "Those guys that just killed that boar are heading right toward the village." And Noel says, "Okay, but wait, why?" He says, he doesn't know. I don't know. I can't hear their voice. I can't hear their voices with my seismic sense. Though I doubt it's good. If they're not part of the village and they weren't called here to deal with the boars, then I don't see any other reason why they just kill a boar out of nowhere and head straight for the village. Magna said, then go faster." With Atta saying right and making the slab of earth going even faster till they got to the village, which was finishing up being encased in mist magic. Atta says, "I don't have time for this," and pulls out his anti-magic sword, slicing the magic mist. He isn't as ignorant about what his sword can do in this, and says, "Come on, come on." Magna says, "Hang on, do you even know where you're going?" He said, "Yeah, all the villagers are gathered up together, and those guys are just staring them down." Noel says, "Well, at least you have that sword that can cut through magic." Which Asta replies with, "Yeah, and it's also lucky that the flat of the blade can actually reflect magic. I learned that after doing some sparring with my friend Yuno after I got my grimoire." They're surprised by that, but they don't have time to question. When they get to the point where they can see the villagers, they see icicle spikes just hanging over all of the villagers, which Magnet quickly jumps in and uses his fireball scatter shot to destroy them all. The Ice Mage still uses the same kind of speech about calling the villagers beast and that they need to be called. If you don't know what that is, it basically means slaughter them, which pisses Magna and Asta off to no degree. Asta, using the Demon Slayer sword in one hand, re- repels the ice sarge back while using his free hand to turn the ice sarge some more ice sarge into water to where they would just fall down on the ground. And the ice mage would think this one has unusual abilities. He'll be annoying. Noel's just freaking out, thinking what is he doing here? I can't help them. I can't even control my magic. Which is when the young girl asks that they're going to save them, right, Miss Magic Knight? And she ends up making her sea dragon's lair spell. Archer replies with, "All right, now I can go at these guys." Bursting through the sea dragon's lair, he goes straight for them using some wind magic. So the ice mage uses a kind of like a ice javelin to go and stab Asta in the gut. Asta wasn't able to turn the ice lance completely into water, but he turned a large chunk of the part that was going right toward his stomach to stab it into water. Then he used his water bending to turn it into a whip and last the ice mage. Or, well, it turned out to be a magic clone. "Damn it," he said, and then looked right at the ice mage. Before he was able to fire another round, Asta used his earth bending to launch a pillar into his gut, sending him flying to his underlings. He replied with, "What the hell? I thought he had some kind of water magic. What is with this kid?" He just kind of groans as he's reeling back from the blow to the stomach. He says, "Enough." And they just start attacking again. Asta yells at Magna, saying, "Magna, get, we're going, we're go for go for a ricochet shot." Magna start, uh, just looks at him for a second, saying, "What?" Until he gets it. As Asta kind of waves his sword as he's running toward these guys. He said, "All right." Magna fires up a fireball explosion. "Hope you know what you're doing." And just launches it, sending multiple shots. Before it got near Asta, Asta just more or less sunk into the ground. Magna said, "Wait, what the hell?" The ice mages didn't have time to think about where Asta was, and just hurried up to make a shield to protect them from the shots that were coming at them. As for the ones that went right by them, Asta reappeared from behind them and used the flat of the blade to ricochet the to send the attack back, hitting the mages. Though one of them was able to use some magic to escape before he was fully captured. The others were captured, but they were exhausted. Then Ragnar turns and sees that the old man of Saussy village is is hunched. It's just kind of being supported by some of the villagers trying to sit up with him having a severe wound. He said, "Oh man!" He rushes towards him, wishing he had healing magic. But Asta hurried up, using some of the water from that, that was left from the battle. He coated his hands, telling Ragnar to move and give him some space. Ragnar said, "What are you doing?" He also looked at him, saying, "Just trust me." He, he opens up his shirt enough to where he can see the wound, and then places his water-covered hands over the wound. The water began to glow very brightly, and the chief's breathing began to become much easier until he was just, he didn't have trouble breathing anymore. He was able to sit up, and Asta moved his hands away, releasing the water. Magna was just so excited and hugged the old man, saying, "Geez, oh, geezer, you nearly gave me a heart attack." And the chief just says, "You're a bit young for one of those, aren't you, Magna?" They looked at Asta, asking, "What did they do?" Asta just replied with, "Well, water bending has the ability for healing properties." After some time, they prop up the bad guys on that busted stone wall, which the leader used that magic item in his body to kill him and all of his subordinates. Magna is frustrated that they would die before giving them any information, stating that has to be some kind of hardcore loyalty oath they must have took. So just says, "Well, whatever they were planning, looks like we might have stopped it. Though, if they went this far to make sure that we didn't get any information about them, they're most likely fanatics. And when a group of those have something planned, it's never good." He's learned some things about fanatics when it comes to from his past lives, like the Equalizers or the Fire Nation in the 100-Year Great War. Yeah, that was not very good. It was terrible. But he says that it doesn't pay to be annoyed by it. They're already dead. They can't get anything out of nothing. So Nero swoops in, pecking Asta with a stone. But he's like, "Ah, come on!" He he sparks up some fire in his head, saying, "I'm gonna roast you alive, you pesky bird." Which he just flies towards your forehead, knocking the stone against him some more. Then Arthur just begins chasing him, saying, "Get back here so I can cook you." Well, saying that you need to stop. And the king of the Saussy village, seeing that the stone's in there, and Asta looking, saying, "Hey, what do you have?" And trying to get it out of Nero's mouth. The chief said, "That's actually a little trinket of mine. Or I keep it as a good luck charm. But you know what? You can take it. Consider it your reward for helping us out with the boars and the intruders." Asta said, "You sure?" And the chief just said, "Yeah, it's fine. Though, though, if we ever need you again, I hope you'll come back to give us a helping hand." Asta, Asta and Magna said, "No problem." They ended up going back, where they found out that they received the gold star, though the Black Bulls were very, very far in the red, in negative stars. Mm. This is where Robert actually chimes in, saying, "You seem to have your work cut out for you." And Asta's thinking, "Really, Robert? You mostly stay quiet for so long and just kind of relax, and now to say that is when you decide to chime in?" but they, but after that, Vanessa brings them to the black market, which they still look around. Asta used take some of the money he had to buy himself some equipment. When they asked what they meant by equipment, he just said that some just some stuff that's more what I need. What he did buy was some armor stud covered braces for his arms for some protection, which something like this is common for earthbenders to wear. Since Asta's first and original element is earth, it does make sense. As for anything else, he just has some things wrapped around his ankles with bare feet. Noel says, "Really? Barefoot again?" With us replying, "Well, it makes it easier with my side to make sense." Which Vanessa just say, "As long as it works." Which is when the cloud thief takes the old lady's bag of money, which who was actually the Wizard King. Haha was still there and insanely jealous of Asta being there with Noelle and Vanessa. And but Asta's already going after him, using wind airbending to have a lot of speed to chase him down. He, the thief says, "Geez, this kid is fast," and hurries up and goes up into the sky over the rooftops, but didn't really do much. Before he got all the way up to the rooftop level, Asta already used his Demon Slayer sword, chucked it straight at him to destroy his magic, and captured him. He used its earthbending to make more or less earth cuffs around his wrist to pin him down. He also made sure that he cuffed his ankles as well. Haha comes in thinking, "Oh, come on, it's already over, and I didn't get any glory. Man." The Asa just picks up the thief and says, "Hey, haha," which he just says, "It's Seke." "Okay, haha, Seke." "No, just Seke." "Whatever. Here, you can take him. I don't really care." Though once they tie him up and the uh, stone restraints fall off, so and Seki just takes him away. The Wizard King is impressed. He's heard the reports of what this kid can do. Being able to use the control the wind in order to boost his speed like that is incredible, and without the help of any magic. With the Wizard King just smirks, thinking he should be interesting. Things not go normally on Yuno's end, like with the mission that takes him by Ha's village because of the noble that beat it. Then we just kind of go forward to the dungeon arc, which the party is still stays the same. Once they enter the, the dungeon and go for the dark tunnel, Noel's still kind of grabbing onto Asta, being afraid of this dark, And instead of a lantern, Asta's just using firebending. And he says, well, looks like the layout of the dungeon doesn't seem too complex. They look at him, says, Luck asks, what do you mean? Mimosa replies with, it's that seismic sense thing, isn't it? He says, yeah. Also, it seems like we weren't the first ones to get here. Luck just smirks, thinking, oh? Are there more... Are there enemies nearby for me to fight? Asta just says, probably. There's a good number of them. Though it looks like one of them splintered off from the rest. Not, not sure what's with that one. Though they still enter the dungeon as normal and walk around. When Luck bends down to check out the magic trap he senses, Asta says, step away from that, Luck. Luck looks back, saying, well, hang on, I thought you couldn't sense magic. I can't. But there's some spots across the floor in this place that are giving off weird vibrations. Luck just looks at him saying, you mean the trap magic? Which he just instantly activates the trap and Asta just swings his sword and gets rid of it. Can you not do that, Luck? Luck's just laughing, enjoying himself, setting off traps, and Asta taking care of them. Then he finally picks up on the mana signature sensing of the other mages there and just leaves. Oh, which I was just like, oh, come on, where are you? Man. Noel says, where is he going? Asta says, well, given the vibrations of his movements, which are pretty freaking fast, he seems to be heading towards the large group of mages that I mentioned earlier. And Noel's just saying, so that battle freak is just going to going to a fight. Asta replies with pretty much, and that she should stay behind him, considering that he can sense the vibrational impact that the trap magic have on the floor that they're engraved on. So Noelle doesn't really argue with that, considering she doesn't want to deal with any more of those traps. And it's more or less Asta stabbing the ground, destroying the traps with his sword as they walk through. The and says the treasure room should be this way. At least that's what it feels like. Noelle asks, what do you mean that's what it feels like? Asta just replies, because there's a large room that has a door in front of it. And says, hang on. And stomps his foot on the ground, double checking, and said, yeah. Oh, and it looks like we got some more incoming. When he looks over, he just sees the Golden Dawn entering, which is, Mimosa and Klaus. Of course, Klaus is still pretty smug and thinking that why did they send the Black Bulls of all people? They, talked to Asta saying that he got a gold star and that Asta already got a gold star as well. Klaus says, huh, as if you could actually get a gold star. You must be lying. Asta just looks at him and says, honestly, we did get a gold star and nothing you can say can change that. Which just annoys Klaus and says, huh. In this one, they don't really make a bet for it because Asta is sensing that Luck might be in a little bit of trouble, and he says, "Oh man," uh, which Klaus says, "What? Acknowledging your folly of opposing a noble?" Asta just looks back, saying, "No, Our teammate that came with us, it seems to be in a bit of a bind with the enemy. Klaus says, enemy? Asta answers, yeah, it seems like the Diamond Kingdom beat us here, though they haven't gotten to the treasure room. But one of them did splinter off. He's heading, from what I can tell, he's heading toward the treasure room right now, though he's going on foot and not at the fastest pace. So if you guys go to the treasure room and deal with that guy, we'll go help our squad member get out of trouble. Klaus just says, wait here, who said that you are in charge here? I am nobility, and I outrank you in the Magic Knight rankings. Asta just said, and? You're not a member of my squad, so I ain't gotta listen to anything you say. Urgh. Klaus just kind of groans and says, fine, as makes his wind arc to get them there with Mimosa using her plant magic to get the layout. Klaus, as they leave, Klaus says, huh, as if we can take whatever he says as truth. Chimes in and saying, Asta has an ability called seismic sense. It's why he's barefooted. Klaus thinks for a minute and realizes that he was barefooted. But what does barefooted have to do with being able to know about the dungeon's layout and and who's in it and where they are? He just describes that he's basically sensing the vibrations that people give off that just travel in the ground that they step on, so, which is why he's barefoot, so that he can sense it. Klaus just scoffs and says and thinks something like that shouldn't even be possible, right? They get over to Luck freeing him, and they Asta still gives his little speech to Luck to snap him out of it and get them to work together. Though the smoke mage uses the same spell to surround them. Asta thinking, come on. No matter how much he slices his sword or uses the air slashes, it's not doing anything. So he tries something else. He pulls up the glider off of his back and opens up the tail end of the flaps, saying, you guys might want to get behind me. They comply, asking what is he going to do. He just replies with, just watch. Pointing the tail fins of the glider out in front of him, he starts spinning it around and using his airbending to create a mini typhoon kind of thing, funneling the smoke away from them. This catches the smoke uh, mage off guard, but give Luck a chance to go right for him. He was able to evade, though unfortunately he can't sense Asta, which gives him a clean shot to hit him with his anti-magic sword real good. And he does do the same as in Cannon and grabs his goons and gets out of there. Back with the Golden Dawn, things still act similar. And when Yuno's about to be taken out by Mars, Asta blitzes in, cutting the giant crystal blade in half. With with uh, with Klaus just thinking, "What the hell?" Asta saying, "Hang back, you look a bit beat up. It's my turn." Klaus says, "How is this possible?" Then Noel tells him that he has the ability to destroy magic, and that he has no magic, but an ability that allows him to control the elements that's in his presence. He isn't able to create them like normal mages can do for creation magic. But Faust looked at her and said, "That's impossible. Abilities and power in such a thing should not or unworthy of a commoner." He just says, "Well, then just sit there and watch and see what he can do." Asta cracks his neck and his knuckles, saying, "All right, let's do this." The well does make her sea dragon lair to cover Mimosa as she gets healing herself. Asta goes straight for Mars, but is swiped at by a mineral clone, which Asta just uses his fist to shatter it. Since it's Earth, it doesn't take much for him, or much of a stretch for him to use earthbending to shatter the crystal clones. And for those who saying, is that really a part of bending for earthbenders? And yes, it is. They did it when they were in the underground prison of Umashu. I think that no, I think it was Ba Sing Se. Yeah, whichever. Sorry, it's been a while. I know the powers and all that, but I have to rewatch the series to remember all of the cities. But back to the weather. Otis said, "Is that all you got?" And goes right for Mars, continuing. Though he slams his foot on the ground, making a bit of a front flip that takes a big ass chunk of earth from the from the dungeon's floor over Asta and straight at Mars. Mars uses his crystal magic, saying, "Too weak," and shatters the rock, only to be met with the Demon Slayer sword coming down on him, slamming him into the ground. And for the third part of this combo, Asta uses the dragon breath fire bending technique and just blasts Mars point blank. Mars uses his crystal magic to launch himself away, but not without getting a few burns and a good bit singed. He gets pissed and just starts attacking with similar thing attacks to the cannon. And when he uses the giant crystal armor, uh, he also still slices that thing in half. Though when the crystals start to come at him, he let go of the Demon Slayer sword and throws his hands at both sides, shattering the crystals. Though the crystals shattering tore up his clothes a good bit, revealing his body. Where Klaus says, "What the hell? Why is he so built? How long has he been training?" And from that point, Asta just goes right towards him with an earth pillar, slamming the sword right on him, knocking him out. They restrain Mars, finally, and went to go head into the dungeon, treasures room, which Asta still uses his sword to cleave right through it. Mars is a little bit more knocked out, so Asta is able to see the weird fixture on the wall that Nero led him to, and feels with his seismic sense that there's something on the other side of the wall. He bursts through the wall and grabs the demon dweller sword that goes into his grimoire. But there was a large crash. The well got hit, and and also that the others got encased in crystals except Mimosa, who's healing them, healing Noel. Asta jumps in, attacking Mars. Mars still uses those flying blades, and they're coming at him pretty fast. And he's just keep making more and more of them, so earthbending them would be kind of tricky since he won't have enough time to pay attention to make sure that even if he deflects them, that they won't stab into one of the magic one the others that are stuck in the crystals. So he just has to deal. The well says that he can do it, and to take care of it. That's he is the only commoner that he's acknowledged, and which brings the magic, her magic, into his blade. He slices using the water slice to to extinguish the Phoenix healing robe. Though Mars is a lot more stubborn and isn't going down since Asta has really pissed them off, saying, "You pebble, I'll destroy you." Asta just says, "Destroy? Why?" He said, "The weak deserve to be destroyed, and the strong deserve to survive." Asta just frickin' snaps, thinking, no, the strong are meant to protect the weak. As he opened his eyes, they glow as he said, "This has gone on long enough." Uh, a spear of air starts to go around Asta, though he isn't floating. He puts he stabs the demon slayer sword into the ground and says, "Be gone!" and makes a giant pillar come up from under Mars, slamming him, pressing him against the ceiling. And then when the pillar went down, Asta took two chunks of the walls from both sides and slammed them together on Mars. They thought that was it, and Noel said, "Asta, stop! That's enough! You're gonna bring the whole place down on us." And which he calms down and is exhausted, taking hit, breathing in heavily. He grips his sword, the demon slayer sword, to try to use it like a crutch, and puts the demon dweller sword back in the grimoire. In this one, he was able to avoid getting stabbed, though he still really was tired, just panting. Which is when Mars did his final chance using the giant mineral sword to attack him, and Yuno's spirit magic activated and destroyed it. Though, after everything else, this was the final straw that broke the camel's metaphorical back. And now the dungeon is collapsing on them, which where they need to get out of there. They hurry up and get on uh, Yuno's flying wind arc. Mars still gets picked up by his people and get out of there. Asta uses his earthbending as much as he can in his exhausted state to move plenty of the rubble away from them. And once they get out, Asta just plops on the ground saying, "Oh, God, today." Which Noel said, "What was that you just did with with the glowing eyes?" He looks at him saying, "It's something I haven't fully mastered yet. You can consider it like a transformation that boosts the power of my bending, but I haven't fully worked out how to control it. So it isn't really that viable. It only popped up now because I was so angry." And Klaus hugs Asta and, acknowledging them, saying and apologizing for judging them just for being commoners, which this is where I'll be leaving this what if off on. So thank you. This was part 2 of What If Asta Was the Avatar. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, remember to ring the notification bell for new uploads, and join us on Discord for talks and ideas of new what ifs that might be possible, or just random talks with multiple other things that you might enjoy. So this is Insane Monster. See you later.